Okay, so now look for it on your Facebook.
Okay.
And then just
Go ahead, share it out, huh?
yeah.
Yep.
Go ahead and like tell people a
Yeah.
little something like, hey, I'm gonna be talking about this tonight.
Got you.
Okay, so now look for it on your Facebook.
Okay.
And then just
Go ahead, share it out, huh?
yeah.
Yep.
Go ahead and like tell people a
Yeah.
little something like, hey, I'm gonna be talking about this tonight.
Got you.
All right. Let me turn that down.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've been waiting for. Here's
Run and tell it to my heart and brain cells and make sure that you explain well. How we gonna break the marks from jails and put people back on track so they can excel? On the street, them need freedom, so we feed them with wisdom, cause wise cuts down weeds and exposes the darkness so that evil is revealed. And when evil get revealed, that's when people get healed.
This is the Run and Tell podcast.
Each one united, come on, don't fight it. You heard it here first, now run and tell of the righteous riot. Each one united, come on, don't fight it. You heard it here first, now run and tell of the righteous riot.
This is the Run and Tell podcast.
Each one united, come on. Each one united, come on, come on. Each one united, come on, don't fight it. You heard it here first, now run and tell of the righteous riot.
This dude, rip crew, flip through, script 2, stand about 6'2", cut like Ginsu, rap like Hindu, tough what I've been through, sick with a pencil, check my credentials, Christ in the dental, nice with the mental, nice when I hit you, cut like a Ginsu, rap like a Hindu, Gil Gatsby, everybody know it's Christ top when I get through, that mic get your mic grip, a hype spitter, light spin the mic, feel the crumble your block, this mic jingle, ill on sin, I'm ill from the pen, cut the G off my aim, I'm still ill again, yeah.
We trendsetters, I thought you knew better.
Yeah.
This week we come to blow your brains out.
Oh man,
Umbrella, yeah, we change weather.
Yeah.
And come look for your people out the drought.
look, you want rain, then here it comes. You hear that thump, the thumping from the drums. You want rain, then here it comes. You hear that thump, the thumping from the drums.
I see you hanging on the edge of a cliff.
Hey yo, be not deceived, God is not mocked for. Hip hop on hush, gated game lockjaw. Impact and rap, open wound the rock saw. Cotton mouth whack MC, smack the spit out y'all. I hold more balls than an obese outlaw. If y'all living right, my live show love. While you want you can find out. We in the rhyme about them prepaid cellular rappers can't pull a line out.
We trendsetters, I thought you knew better.
Yeah.
This week we come to blow your brains out.
Ow. Huh?
Umbrella, yeah, we change weather.
Yeah.
And come look for your people out the drought.
Huh? You want rain, then here it comes. You hear that thump, the thumping from the drums. You want rain, then here it comes. You hear that thump, the thumping from the drums.
I see you hanging on the edge of a cliff.
Then let go. Run and tell.
All right. Welcome, Gil Gatsby.
I'm here, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, thanks for being here. And
Absolutely.
to everybody tuning in right now, thank you for joining us for this episode of Run and Tell. As we're going to be talking with Gil Gatsby, he's going to share some music with us.
Yes.
Also, parts of his story. Some things have recently happened in the last couple of years.
Absolutely.
Some health challenges that,
man.
I'm sure God has shown himself strong in your life. And so,
powerful.
we're excited that you're here, man.
Yes.
So what's new with you?
Oh, man, just living, man, in the midst of this quarantine, getting my life right, making sure I'm on point, still sharing the glory of God everywhere I go, making sure me and the wifey is good, getting into the Word and Netflix and chilling and taking care of the kids at church, man, so life has been good, no complaints at all.
Okay, so when you say taking care of the kids at church, are you in ministry, youth
Absolutely,
ministry?
yes.
Or?
So I'm an associate pastor at Remnant of the Life Worship Center. Shout out to Pastor Kendall, Remnant of the Life, the family, the partners. But I'm also the youth pastor, youth and young adult pastor, over a ministry called Preach One, Leave None.
Okay.
And so we meet every Wednesday. The challenge at first was doing it online because, in this day and age, it can be very distracting when, text pop-ups and TikTok video alerts and things like that. So to keep their attention. But now that we're back in the house of God, it's been, getting back to, getting them on point.
Yeah, so did you hear the recent announcement today?
I heard
again?
it. I heard
So
it.
what you guys going to do?
Hey, so I guess we're going to have to go back to the IG Live for a minute
Yeah.
and continue to do it,
Yeah.
And I think it's important, they're not saying we can't read the Bible.
Yeah.
They're not saying we can't praise and worship. So it's tough because you have some new believers that definitely need the fellowship. So it's up to us as leaders, me being in my position at my church and just being a man of God, to make sure that I step out of my comfort zone and reach out a little more online as opposed to always waiting for the physical fellowship face to face.
Yeah.
I got to still be able to continue to check in with them on Facebook, IG, text messages, FaceTimes, whatever I have to do to keep them connected until we get back to it.
Yeah, it's important that you bring up that there's absolutely a need for pastors, ministers, and leaders to be creative.
Yes.
In the type of situation we're in, and I know a lot of people are kind of they're on the border of is this persecution? Is it not?
Right.
I don't feel like it's persecution yet, but I could see how it could easily turn
Go into
into that.
Yes.
And so, but bottom line is that God's doing something new,
Yes.
According to what's happening, and we just have to be open and be praying for creativity on how to engage,
Absolutely.
God's people. It's absolutely important in this time. Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Well, actually, do you remember doing a show out there in I don't know if it would be considered South Central LA, but with Hazakim?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, I was one of the ones that put on that show.
Okay,
So
cool. Yeah,
I didn't get to meet you that show, but I was playing the background for that. But man, you killed it that night, bro.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I love the live show. I love rocking live, putting the material together, and then going on stage and then MCing me. And then that was the first time I rocked with Hazakim and Keno Camp on the same show.
Yeah.
So it was powerful. The turnout wasn't what we wanted, but for those that were there, it was impactful. It was a powerful night. Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember also afterwards there was a good time of fellowship before the show,
Right,
and then
and
after the show,
yes.
there's a good time of fellowship, and that's one of the elements of the Christian hip hop culture that's cool.
Exactly.
Is you get to enjoy a show, but then there's also
That connection.
with
Absolutely.
people from all different types of churches, because hip hop. CHH, as they call it, is like a subgenre of a subgenre,
Right.
and then every church has like a few
that does it,
and then so at these shows we get to all come together,
get that fellowship in, check in on each other, rap with each other, display the music, and just just have a good time. So it's always great to connect with the brothers. My bad, I didn't meet you that night. Sometimes with me, I'm in. I shake my hand.
No,
and then I'm out.
it was me too, man. I was tired from. I was tired. I know the Hazakim brothers pretty well, and I've been able to host them a couple times.
Okay.
And so I was tired.
Yeah.
And I just had a baby at that time.
Oh yeah. So yeah. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. So how long have you been? Doing music?
I would say now, probably in about 2 or 3 hours, it'd be 22 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 22 years. I started at 16. I was a ball player, and like I said, I didn't do music. Everybody around me was like rapping and freestyling. I just wanted to play basketball all day. And so 22 years later, I'm still doing it. I picked it up as just a hobby, just because I wanted to fit in with the friends, and they didn't want to play ball. They wanted to battle and rap, and I said, hey, I can do that too. Went home and wrote the most terrible verse I ever could write. But then they all stopped doing music pretty much, and I'm still doing it. So God kind of used them to push me in the right direction.
That's what's up. So I like it when I have rappers on this show because I get to kind of say that I used to do it too, and not that I'm like looking for an opportunity to
you got to serve up some.
You got to yeah, exactly. No, but because what you just said right now reminded me, it took me back to when I was a youngster. I was like 17 years old. I was recently dropped out of high school. I was hiding out in Inglewood. Okay. And because I had stirred up too much trouble out here, and so I was hiding out over there, and I was like, what am I gonna do with my life? Yes. And I was just thinking to myself, man, I might as well just become a gangster rapper. Okay. and so I stood on my mom's porch, and I wrote probably some of the worst gangster raps ever, man, ever.
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you. My first show, I had on like a fishnet jersey, some khakis, and some Chucks. I didn't know what I was doing, man. Yeah, they should have booed me off stage.
So when did you kind of cross over or start doing it, the way you do it now with a message, like more of a message? Because, obviously when we get started, we have like a different goal in mind, and now I know you as like a Christian rapper. So when did you kind of start doing that?
So it's always been a part of me. So when the first couple of shows I did, it was like a youth service, and we just got our raps and put them together, wrote them. Gave it to the first lady, said, hey, can we do this on a youth service? She said, absolutely. We did our thing. It wasn't the best. The second time we did it, I think it was maybe like 16 years old. It was like about maybe 200 people in the room, standing room. We had on suits, me and my god brother. We did our thing. We rocked out. At this point, I was kind of like dabbling with like battle rap and things like that, and just learning how to freestyle. And the impact it made on the kids that day, we kind of looked at each other when we were on stage and was like, this is what we need to do. And we agreed upon it. We went to school the next day in high school, and they clowned me, bro. They start singing "Stomp" by Kirk Franklin. You know what I'm saying? Because they was like, oh, the battle rapper wanted to be Kirk Franklin. And this one cat told me, like, man, if you do this, you never gonna make it. And that's kind of been like the backbone to my style. Like, that's why I don't really do too many soft records or calm records. I'm always like aggressive, because I wanted people to know we do have some people for the gospel, those that are saved, that are spitters, that can go with the best of them. And I've always carried that on my back. The message has always been there, but sometimes it may have been hidden by some of the punches and, how I deliver it. So now at this point in my career, I'm just trying to make sure that they know everything I'm doing is for God's glory. The way I rap is for God's glory. I want to see people be saved, be their greatest, not live in mediocrity. So I push artists to be great. And the same thing in ministry as well. If you're going to do something for God, I'm going to push you and encourage you to do your best. And I'm going to challenge you to do your best as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So in your response, you're saying that the message has always been there. Yes. And is that because you were raised in church, or how is that?
I was raised in church my entire life. I would say that I seriously got serious about it for myself at like 16. I was called the pastor at 12, but then from 12, who wants to preach at 12? I want to play ball and do all that. So from 12 to like 16, or maybe even 17, my main focus, although I was perfecting the rap thing, was I was still in church. But the relationship portion of it was okay. I had moments where I was on fire. I had moments when I was destined to be who God called me to be. I got it. I figured it out. However, I kind of got relaxed in it. I never forgot the faith or left the faith. However, that backing never left me. And people around me wouldn't let me do the crazy things. Like I couldn't join the gangs. I couldn't go fight everywhere I wanted to go. You the ball player, or you the church boy. Stick to that. It was a blessing in disguise, because at that point I wanted to fit in per se, but now I'm like, okay, it was great for me because I'm glad I didn't go down that route, because now my testimony is even stronger because I was able to overcome certain challenges without succumbing to those things.
So when you say that people didn't let you, who are these people? Are these church people? Or are these friends that kind of knew your background?
These church people and these are friends. It's crazy how, you grow up in L.A., you're from L.A. When I went to high school, it was a gang on every other block.
Right.
So when you walk home, they don't matter if you have on basketball gear. We wore uniforms to school. They didn't care where you from, who your uncle, who your dad, every day. And so we had certain friends that wanted to do the gang thing, but they were like, it's something different about you. We're going to make sure you're the one that's going to make it for us. And that's been like the thing. And so even now, 20 years later, I still connect and talk to some of those friends, and they can see that I'm still doing it for the gospel just like I was when we were 15, 16 years old. And now 20 years later, I'm still in the same position, lifting up the name.
That's great. I always love hearing people share that part of their story that, that because of a community, whether it was their parents or somebody near to them that was a Christian, that was like, hey, I'm gonna keep you from what's going on out there. Being raised in church, it absolutely makes a difference. And then you don't get to experience a lot of the pain and the heartache out there now.
Right.
It's a little different because for minorities, there's some more challenges out there culturally.
Yes.
But at the same time, because of the gospel, there's so much more that could have happened.
Exactly.
For me, my dad brought me to church when I was a kid, but I think because he was a single parent, it was a little bit more difficult, and so a lot of things slipped through the cracks.
Got it.
And so I had to suffer a lot of turmoil because of my own decisions. Being a rebellious child, a child that just lacked the structure and the stability and stuff,
Right.
And so I always love it when somebody shares that, hey man, I didn't do all that stuff. I didn't get to experience it, and I'm just like, man, thank God.
But on the same thing, like I said, even though I was in the church, like go to what you're saying, like there were times where I wanted to be in that influence so bad. Mom and Pop were in the home. Then sometimes Pop was out. He was, incarcerated for a little time. No fault to him, life challenges that he dealt with in his life. And Mom's trying to figure it out. My grandmother's trying to figure it out, how to raise me and things like that. I had times where I would step outside and want to let my pants sag a little bit and, hey, cuz, and all this, because I felt like I was missing out on these types of things. So like I said, I'm thankful, but like I said, I did definitely have some challenges myself where I kind of like strayed away for a moment just in my mind, because I didn't want to be the holy kid. I didn't want to be the one who didn't listen to the music or watch the movies or know how to fight and things like that. So I found myself in situations that, of course, by the grace of God, I escaped. But I still had to, deal with it. So I'm glad to see that you made it out on your side as well.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So what was that moment where you're just like, you know what? This is serious. This walk with God, there's nothing else. The Gospels make it very clear that Jesus bids us to come and die.
Come on.
That Luke 9, crucifying the flesh. When was that moment when you were like, you know what? It's time to do it all for Him.
That's a great question. So let's go a little deeper. Let's unpack some things. So got married at age 24. Married at 24, and I didn't know that I had a crazy lust pornography problem at 24. So I'm married, but when my wife goes to sleep, I'm taking a laptop, watching all kind of crazy things. And it took her one time just kind of busting in and exposing that, because, I'm trying to lock the door and hide behind it. And in this position, I was a minister at the church where I was going. I was ministering the gospel on a regular basis. I was over the youth over there at that church as well. And I looked back once I got delivered from that and said, man, God never leaves us nor forsakes us. Even when I was in those dark moments, He still used my wife to a certain extent to expose me in that area. He still didn't expose me to the world. But at that very moment, I said, God, I'm going to get this right for You, because I don't want to cripple my testimony, nor do I want to have the appearance of power, but I lack it because I'm living off sin and I have these hidden things, but then I'm going before the people saying Jesus this, Jesus that, but in my heart, I'm far from it. And in that, I had to look at myself and say I'm disgusting, I'm horrible, you know. But God said, no, you're great. This is a part of your story, and we're going to use this testimony to give more glory. When I was in 24, 25, you don't want to admit these things. Mm-hmm. You don't want to admit that you're going through these terrible times. You don't want to admit the insecurities and the depression that you deal with. So you kind of go through these moments where it's like, okay, God, I'll be back in a minute. I know you're there for me, but I got to deal. I can't put this down. And at that point, I didn't have accountability. I was just kind of trying to go through things myself. I knew how to pray with the best of them, read the word with the best of them, quote the scriptures. But in that moment, once I got delivered, God just really let me know, you back in position. And I told God and made a vow, I'm going to hold it down for the kingdom. So at 20, I would say 20, maybe 26. I had like maybe 26 or 27. A two to three years struggle where that was really damaging my heart and my relationship. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, man, there's something about obviously when you confess that Christ is Lord and
yes.
and you have that genuine relationship, but there are things that we kind of get caught up in, these habitual sins.
Yes.
And it's almost like those are things that are absolutely stuffing it up.
Right.
You can't. Paul talks about in Corinthians, I believe, about vessels of honor and vessels of dishonor, and he says, "Cleanse yourselves,
yes.
Purify yourselves," right? And so that you may be ready to be used by God. And so there's an element of having to forsake things, having to abstain from sexual immorality, such
yes.
as porn
yes.
addictions
yes.
and such.
Yes.
I remember, man, when I had first started in the ministry, I had a pretty severe porn addiction as well. It
yes.
was right before I met my wife.
Okay.
And I remember I had this dream.
Okay.
I had this dream that there was like this hardcore gangbanger
mm-hmm.
that looked like he was sad. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to go tell that guy about the gospel like Nacho Libre. Let's go tell those guys about the gospel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I'm preaching to this guy in
yeah.
my dream, and he's not understanding. He's like, what you talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like giving him all my best, presentations of the gospel.
Right, exactly, yes.
And he is just confused, and I'm
mm-hmm.
like, why? It started breaking my heart that this guy who obviously needed to hear some truth and God's love
yes.
was not understanding what was happening, what was being said to him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized that my mouth was wired shut.
Wow.
My mouth was wired shut in the dream. Somehow it was shown to me.
Yeah.
And I was just starting to become frustrated, like, what's going on? And I woke up, and that dream bothered me. I remembered it vividly, just as I told you right there. I just thought about it for weeks and weeks, and could not understand what the meaning was. And finally, there was the secretary at the church that I was at the time. Her name is Susan. Shout out Susan if you're
shout out Susan.
and she goes, "What's up?" And I was like, "Man, there's just this dream that's been bothering me." And she goes, "Tell me." And so I tell her just what I told you, and she goes, "There's unconfessed sin in your life. And whatever it is, it's withholding you from being able to fulfill your potential as a Christian. It's causing you to lack power in your ministry."
Yes.
And what was crazy was I had just kind of started leading this college age Bible study.
Okay.
And it was doing really well for like the first 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got just wrapped up in this porn addiction.
Yes.
And it started dwindling.
Mm-hmm.
Problems started happening.
Yeah.
Not to say that doesn't happen even if somebody's
Correct.
walking straight,
Correct.
right?
Yes, right.
But I really believe that it was a result of that, because when you are living in habitual sin and you're trying to preach truth, you're a hypocrite.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, you cannot preach with true conviction.
Right.
You can, because you don't really believe what you're saying.
Exactly.
And so once she told me the interpretation of my dream,
yes,
I confessed my sin, man, and then I end up meeting my wife not too soon afterwards.
And then the blessings came in.
Yeah.
Blessings start pouring in.
Yeah.
Nah, that's good, man. Like
Yeah.
I said, I tell the youth all the time, and I share this with people. In your weaknesses, strength is perfected, but you have to allow God the ability to know what your weakness is. You have to expose that to God so God can then strengthen you in those areas where you are weak.
Yeah.
And that's happened to me multiple times. Pornography was one thing. Pride was another thing. I had arrogance where I was like, you can't tell me nothing type thing. You know, I don't know where that developed from, but I just had that on me. I lived in unforgiveness for many years on my father. You know, I had that, you know, daddy wasn't there moment.
Yeah.
And like, I can't even call my father daddy. It's pops, because I have these issues, and God is still working through me in these areas. I love my father dearly, but I had those moments in my life when I was young where I had this unforgiveness as if he owed me something, or, you know, he was a problem to me. So that may be where the pride came in. But it was once I came to God and sat down with my grandma and read the scripture, you know, if you can't forgive, how can your Father in heaven forgive you? And really let that settle in. Then I was able to release those moments where I had unforgiveness in my heart and truly love my Father for who he is. And so those are things that, although God has always been with me, you sometimes block out or try and block out those things, those moments that God was strengthening me and showing me, you're still here for my glory. You're going through these things for my glory, not for you alone. I'm not going to leave you in these moments, but I'm going to pull you out so that those other million Gil Gatsby's that need to hear that testimony, hear the word of God, hear the conviction, they'll hear it, because you're going to be delivered. And God's been with me all this time.
Wow. So how's your relationship with your dad right now?
100. That's my guy.
That's cool, man.
All good.
Yeah, I had the same thing with my mom.
Yes.
My mom, you know, she wasn't really there because, you know, it was a bad divorce that happens.
Yes.
And, you know, so many years without seeing her, and, you know, that has an effect.
Correct.
You know, and
Yes.
and I remember just having just a lot of bitterness, not just towards my mom, but towards my sisters, towards females.
Okay.
You know, and
Yes.
And it wasn't until this one moment, man, where I was at this youth convention. There's like 10,000, you know, youth there, and
Yes.
and then this guy named Reggie Dabbs.
Okay.
He was a saxophone player. He starts preaching, and he starts like at the end of it, calling people to the front, right? But he starts with calling out all the mothers in the room.
Okay.
Talking a huge arena, 10,000 people.
Talk to me.
So he calls out all these mothers, and he says, make a line across this stage, huge stage, and there's maybe about 200 moms that go up, right?
Okay.
And and then he starts preaching. He goes, some of you youngsters here, you guys got some unforgiveness. You got some things that you got to leave at the feet of Jesus.
Yes.
And so he starts saying, if you have this addiction, you have that, and all these different things, you know, as in youth ministry we deal with kids.
Yes.
And he's saying, come to the altar, and these mothers are going to pray for you, right?
Okay.
We're talking 10,000 youth students here. And so finally he goes, and now there's some of you who, you guys have bitterness and unforgiveness in your heart because of bad relationships with your parents, with your mom.
Yes.
Your mom wasn't there, your dad wasn't there. Come up. And so finally I was like looking around, and mostly everybody's already up there.
Okay.
And so I'm walking up there. There's this thin line of moms, and then there's this giant multitude of people there who are coming to Jesus or coming for prayer. And I started walking up, and I was like, man, I don't even think I'm going to get to pray with any of them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I started thinking about turning back, and so Reggie Dabbs he says, mothers, I do not want you to talk to anybody, lay hands on anybody until I say go. And so when he said that, I was like, there's no way. I'm walking back.
Yeah,
all defeated.
Right.
And so as soon as he says go, this little Puerto Rican mommy busts through all these thousands of kids and hugs me like she saw me walking away, man.
Yeah.
And she embraced me. And like, I'm a big dude. It was like, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And I felt the embrace of a mother that I hadn't felt in a very long time.
Yeah.
And she prayed for me and told me how much God loves me. and how much my mom loves me.
Yeah.
And just this huge healing and burden was lifted off my heart that day, and I was able to love my mom again, man.
That's
you know,
a
from
blessing.
that moment.
That's powerful.
On, you know,
That's powerful.
And that doesn't mean that it didn't take hard work to,
Right.
work
Right.
it out with her.
Right,
and
exactly.
stuff.
You go through those challenges, those
Yeah.
ups and downs. That's what happens in a relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got to lean on God. Allow God to be your leader and not lean to your own understanding, but allow God to lead everything that goes on, the conversations. And that's how me and my father were able to, get on the same page. Because the crazy thing is, my pop has always loved me like 100%. Has never looked down on me, anything. So, I kind of looked at it and was like, all those times I was just being that adolescent, teenage brat, holding it for things. But his love for me never changed, and I looked at it. Love of the Father never changes, even when we stray away. So even though my dad is a minister, that was ministry in itself, that he never turned his back on me, always held me down, always make sure that I'm great.
Yeah.
And that's a powerful testimony that we have together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Do
Yeah.
you have kids?
Not yet. We were
Not
looking to have them. I'm trying
Yeah.
right now. Tian, if you looking, tonight it's going down. It's going down tonight. I hope you ready.
That's what I'll talk about. Marriage bed is undefiled.
Undefiled, we going in. Bar Bully going in. Nah.
So that's what's up. But that's one of the things about parenthood is that it teaches you a lot about parenting in retrospect. So all those things that I had against my mom and my dad.
Yeah.
Now that I have kids, I'm able to look at them with compassion and understanding.
Yes.
Like, man, this is not easy. It's and I thought, years of doing youth ministry was going to prepare me. It didn't.
Yeah.
Because I look at those kids' eyes and they're so innocent, and I see what's out there waiting for them.
Yeah.
And it teaches you how selfish you are, because you got to give up a lot.
Yeah.
And so it really caused me to have compassion and understanding and forgiveness, even to a greater degree with my parents, man, because it's just kind of like, oh shoot, I'm in their position now.
Right. Now you get to see what they dealt with.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I'm
it's
ready.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
It's some of the. It's almost like you have a treasure.
Mm-hmm.
You have a treasure that God gave you, other than obviously salvation and His Holy Spirit and His gifts.
Yeah.
But now He's giving you this treasure that you're looking at, and
Right,
you're just
right.
kind of like, I gotta take care of
I
this.
got to take care of it. I'm not hear you. Yeah.
So
guard it with your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question.
Talk to me.
So all right, for people who may be watching this.
How's everybody? Hello out there in TV land.
Yeah. So there may be people who are not privy to the hip hop culture.
Okay.
And so I just gotta say, man, being on Sway in the Morning, that's a pretty big deal.
Hey.
Right?
Nah, yeah, that was a big deal, man. The way that came about was real crazy. Long story short, if you are a hip-hop head or not, Sway and King Tech, they were big in L.A. for a long time. And Sway moved to New York to work with Eminem on Shade 4-5. He launched his own show. In May of that year where he launched the show, I think it's been 8 years now, maybe 8 or 9 years, I met King Tech, went down to the studio with King Tech in L.A. at Power 106, and it was me and about, I want to say like maybe 15, 20 other MCs, and they set up the cameras, and they wanted everybody to rap, do your best material, whatever you wanted to do. So I only had with me like maybe, we went a cappella actually. A cappella, then they played beats. So we rapped for a little while, and Sway saw the tapes and was like, who's that cat who's slam, but he sound like Rick Ross? And so my boy Ross, shout out to my man Ross, shout out to my new nephew, he just had a baby last week. Raw called me and was like, yo, Sway wants you to do a drop for his show. He just starting to work with Eminem. I said, all right, cool. So we went to the studio. Raw made a beat. The first one was Microphone Fiend. He remade Mike Fiend. I did a drop. Then I did 2 drops, sent it over to Sway. He played them every hour on the hour for the first week of his show. And he started getting calls from Jadakiss, Fab called him, Eric Sermon called him, Eminem reached out to him like, this kid is crazy. So Sway was like, hey, we got to fly you out to the show because people want to know, they want to put a face to the voice that's been killing these drops.
Wow.
And that was it. I was out there. That was starting in July. I was on the show in November. Yeah. And then after that, it was like my career just really took off because Sway is a good dude. He loved the MCing. We talked for a while after the show for a couple of years, and he would always check in and encourage me to keep going. That's why I was able to go to the show so many times, because I would just reach out to him, not to get anything, but just, hey, Sway, how you doing? How the fam? How your daughter? You good? Blessings to your show. Praying for y'all, rocking with y'all. I would send him drops all the time, and he was like, open door policy. You a humble dude. You real. Whenever you want to come through, and that's how it happened.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Wow, that's some favor from the Lord right
that's
there.
Some favor from the Lord.
That's not to say that you're not talented and skilled, because you are, bro.
Right.
But the scriptures make it clear that promotion comes from above.
Absolutely.
And I know dozens of guys that are very talented.
Yes.
But they ain't doing nothing with their gift.
Right.
And it's because it's really because God is the one that opens those doors, man.
Yeah.
He opens doors that no man could shut.
And what's crazy about that, to tap in with that too, there was a moment where, like I said, I was still in the church, but and I said this to somebody else I was talking to, there was a moment where I took my eyes off making the music for the people, to glorify God, to give them something different, and I just start chasing being like the GOAT. I wanted to be the greatest of all time. I wanted to be the greatest to ever, pick up a microphone. And then there was a moment where God just kind of slowed everything down. I wasn't being booked for shows. I wasn't really getting tracks. So I sat down for a minute and I started just getting back into the Word clearly, to reevaluate and get recentered in God. And as soon as I did that, phones start ringing again.
Wow. Yeah.
It was like immediate. It was like everything just happened quickly once I got back where I needed to be with God. Labels start calling, reaching out, meetings start happening. Like I said, the Sway thing was one. I saw Sway, Power 106, 92.3, all these different things start happening. Hip Hop DX, all these different sites start reaching out to me, and I was like, okay, God, I get it. Because now my focus is no longer, I don't want to just be that guy. I want to make sure that they know the greater one lives on the inside of me. So let me make sure that I go out there and do what I need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you think, because I remember when I first listened to Christian hip hop, it was, I don't want to disrespect nobody, but I was kind of like, I was going to church for like maybe a year,
okay,
and I was still bumping some West Side Connection in the parking lot, like tough, man. I was still who ride, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And then somebody hooked me up with a CD from somebody named Lorside G.
Ah, okay.
And it was pretty corny, man. But
yeah,
but it was something that opened me up to like the Lecrae's, the Flames, and like around the time when after the music stopped. That was he had his Real Talk joint, and then maybe like the next year it was after the music stops.
Got you.
And then it was Rebel, which was a big one.
That was a big one. That was major.
I remember going to Lecrae's, or actually it was the Reach Records concert in San Bernardino, and there was only like 40 people in this big old room. Yeah. But they killed it. Yeah. And so I've noticed the difference, and I think everybody has in their music, where in the beginning he was like, Jesus, Jesus, my Jesus, 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 my Jesus, Jesus. Right. That was all the bars. It was all the But now, obviously his message is still there. The message of the gospel is still in his music. I can say that I've listened, and I listen closely, and I hear him. He's still, it's maybe nuanced and subtle, but it's there.
It's still,
okay?
Yeah.
So do you think that there was kind of like a growth in your music like that too?
Same thing.
It's the same thing?
Same thing happened for me as well, where I had that moment where I was like, let me try and package the music in a way that everybody can grab it. And I remember I was in a group back in the day, a group called Remedy, me and three of my bros, and we had this album called The Treatment. And there was a line on that song where I say, y'all edit Christ out the music like it hurts your raps.
Sorry about that.
Shout out to them people. Go out and make a difference. Nah,
sorry about that.
No, it's all good. So it was a point where I said, y'all edit Christ out the music like it hurts your raps. And then so I thought about it years later. I was like, yo, why am I trying to make music and take that out when that's my power, that's my strength? And I've been doing it forever, where people will hear me rap, and then it'll take them like 5 or 6 times or 10 times to hear me and be like, yo, dude said Jesus, or he said Christ, or he said sin. But it was wrapped around so many like crazy punchlines and metaphors and storylines that it was like, yo, I get it. And so I was like, okay, I don't have to really change up everything that I'm doing or take out Christ in order to make an impact in the music. Like I said, so I was around that same time when Lecrae was making his run. I was on the same thing. Like, I'm a Christian who raps type thing.
A rapper that's Christian.
A rapper that's Christian.
Yeah.
And, you get your mail from the mailman. He don't got to tell you a Christian mailman.
Yeah.
He just gives you his mail and you know what he is. So I don't knock anybody who does it, but as long as your lifestyle lines up with the music, I'm all good. There are some songs where I didn't say Jesus, but my lifestyle outside, when the music was off, wasn't anything different. I wasn't doing anything crazy. It was just, hey, I'm going to deliver it to you differently. Like Employee of the Month, which was like my second or third solo project, the music itself wasn't really saying Jesus on every song. However, the entire project was wrapped around the person who is struggling to get to their dream, who is not denying God, who is focused and is doing what he needs to do. And some of the people that follow my music said that one ministered the most to him. So you can win on either side of the fence, but I just want to make sure that with me, my lifestyle does not change at all.
Wow. So has there ever been like temptation?
No.
To adjust, to maybe compromise a little bit to get ahead a little
twerk song. People come to you all the time, Miles. They were like, man, if you cussing your music, you'd have been on. You did this, you'd have been on.
Yeah.
But it's just a conversation piece. But for me, like I said, the cat who told me I would never make it doing it for God, that always reigned supreme. That I was like, just for that one person, that's my motivation to say, even if I never get to the point where in the physical I sell 10 million records or tour the entire world, my music has reached millions, and I'm doing it for that next person that's going to watch this interview and be like, Gil is pretty cool. Let me go listen to his music. And they got their pen and their pad, and they're going to take it to a point where I didn't even have the opportunity to take it. So that's why I'm going to continue doing it for God, because I want to be the person to say, when everybody else turns away, you don't have to do it. Stand your ground and do it for the kingdom.
That's what's up. So, tell us about this next song. Which one are you gonna do next?
Let's hit him over the head with Blessings. That song is near and dear to my heart because I did that song right after I got out of the hospital. For those who may not know, if you're meeting me for the first time, I had 2 major strokes. I had one on April 30th and then the other on May 1st while driving to work. The doctor was saying I wouldn't be able to walk and talk, maybe not even make it because there was a clogged artery in my brain that was blocked 100%, and that they would have to go in and do surgery to try to put a stent in the brain to open it up to allow blood to flow. And so I was in Fontana. They drove me to L.A. and I told my wife, I was, because she was there with me the whole time, interceding and praying over me. And I said, I do not want to have surgery. She said, all right, we just going to go to L.A., see what they're talking about. We were there on May 1st, and I was at home on May 7th with no surgery, able to walk upstairs to go lay down and go to sleep. Started my rehabilitation right then and there, and 2 years later, I am great. I am good with no surgery, and I know that is all because of the glory of God. Wow. And that's, part 2. The pornography deliverance was one thing, but then the coming over a major illness and sickness. And I promise you this, Miles, when I was in the hospital, my wife was on my right side, and I felt somebody touch me on my left side, but when I opened my eyes, there was no one there. No one could tell me that God that didn't intervene and touch me and let me know that I was going to be all right in that moment. Yeah. And that just intensified. So Blessings is the first song I did when I got out the hospital and got back to work.
Hold up. Because I'm looking forward to the music, man, but that's what this show's about.
Yeah.
Run and Tell is about, these things. A lot of times people are on the internet and they're arguing about, things that, a lot of people like to defend this person, defend that person, but they've never even met them. They don't even really know how they really live in.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that people talk about that they just don't really got the answers to.
Yeah.
But one thing that is undisputable.
Talk about
I've been in ministry, man, for almost 15 years now, and and I've heard some people say some pretty crazy stuff, but I can't say that it can't happen. There's miracles that we see in the Bible, and maybe I haven't seen a bunch of like crazy miracles, like, you know, spitting in mud and wiping across your eye, and then now I could see. I might not have seen a lot of stuff like that, but that doesn't mean that I can't believe the testimonies that somebody shares with me. And so, man, like, you're telling me right now,
talk to me,
that you had a stroke. I thought you had two, didn't you?
Two. I had one on April 30th. Went to the hospital. They gave me this like medication to try to make any like blood clot or stoppage to like explode.
Yeah.
And so like maybe 30 minutes after I took that medication, I was good. I was walking around the hospital. When can I go home? Where's my clothes? I was feeling good. They said, no, we have to keep you overnight because you did have a stroke. And based on the fact that there was an artery that was blocked. That next morning, May 1st, I'm good because, you know, for those who had a stroke, or if you haven't, I pray you never have it. They check in on you every 30 minutes to make sure that you're not getting worse. There was a time where my mouth was drooping. There was a time where I couldn't raise my right hand. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do this with my hand. I couldn't ball up a piece of paper. And they check on you every 30 minutes to check progress. And that next morning, they were taking out the little IV, whatever they had in my arm. And when they put my arm down, I felt it like slowly going down. And my wife saw the discomfort in my face. And I was like, I can't feel my arm. And I had another stroke like right there in the hospital. And that's when they said, we got to send you to L.A. because we can't help you here based on what you're dealing with. We don't want to take that chance. And the doctors there were like, hey, he might not make it, so we just want to make it as comfortable as possible for him. I even had a nurse in L.A. come in and say, hey, as I started getting better, he was like, it doesn't matter what you do. You can change your diet. You can exercise. It don't matter. You're a ticking time bomb.
So what brought on the stroke? Was it because of a bad diet or
I think it was a little bad diet for sure. Eating a lot of bacon and fried chicken and things like that, right? That's one thing. And then also just stress. You know, I'm a person who tries to make everything right at all times, help out anybody I can. I'm doing a lot at work. I'm doing a lot of driving from where I live to my job now, doing a lot at the church. So it was a lot of going on and not resting. And so they just all caught up to me on a Monday morning, just going to work. Felt like somebody had hit me in the chest. It felt like a Charlie horse for those who may have ever encountered that. And my whole body went numb. And I started shaking a little bit. And I said, okay, I'm cool, because I felt like it was over. Start driving again, and then my mouth started twitching, my face started twitching. So I called my wife, and I was like, Jesus. Well, you know, she answers like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, Jesus. And I'm like, I think I'm having a stroke. I don't know. I think I'm having a stroke. And she's like, where are you? And this is why I give God all glory. I'm having a stroke. My body is going paralyzed on my right side. I'm able to drive with the left side of my body, clearly call my wife. My wife calls the ambulance. Get in the turning lane, make a U-turn, find a parking spot, go into a liquor store, park, open the door, put my hand out, wait for somebody to come help me because I felt myself losing feeling. Able to tell that person, hey, I think I'm having a stroke, while still telling my wife where the address is until they got to me. Once they got to me, I couldn't even move. When I got up, I just fell over. And that's no credit to me, because how would a person who never had a stroke know that they're having a stroke?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that to me was like, God, you are amazing. You are powerful.
Wow. Man, the Lord really came through for you on that, bro, because, you know, I have a really good friend of mine. You know, eventually he'll be on this show to tell his story himself.
Absolutely. Yes.
But he had a stroke when we were kids.
Okay.
You know, we used to go play baseball at the school, and then one day he stopped showing up.
Yes.
And we found out that he had a stroke. And I think he might have been like 8 or 9. No. Probably like 10 years old. And he was a heavy kid. And to this day, you know, he's, I don't know what they call it, but half his body is kind of paralyzed.
Yes.
And he has actually an amazing testimony about he came to the Lord because for just a moment, the Lord healed his hand.
Okay.
So that he was like at this church service and they're praying.
Yes.
And next thing he knows, his hand that he hasn't been. I'm telling you, when we were kids and, you know, he was able to come and play with us.
Yeah.
We grew up smacking his little noodle arm around. We used to, you know, give him a hard time, mess with him, you know. And he was a really good sport about it. Everybody loves this guy. Shout out to Javi. And then he says that he was in this church service, and next thing you know, he's holding this piece of paper.
Yeah.
And he hears God's voice saying, "I'm showing you that I'm powerful by letting you hold this piece of paper in a hand that he hasn't used for a long time."
Powerful.
And so, but he's told me quite a bit about his experience when he was a kid and he had that stroke, and it's a painful thing and it's a traumatizing thing. And the fact that you had two, and you're standing here, and you got all control
activity.
of all your faculties, man.
Everything's good, and I give all glory to God because I couldn't do it by myself. And that truly just showed me, and I was asking and oftentimes preaching, like, I want to see that time where the person comes in and they're in a wheelchair and the word is spoken over them and they jump up and they arise, and somebody's dealing with a sickness and they immediately feel that healing from God. And when I was in that position in the hospital, it's crazy because it was me, my wife, and my big bro, Good Ground, came down. My mom came down to visit me one time, but for the most part, my wife didn't leave my side. She was there interceding for me for 5 straight days, nonstop. Did not leave my side. It's my best friend, and we rock. And I had my brother, his name is Good Ground. Shout out to Good Ground, one of my mentors in the gospel. He came down and just sat with me and just talked to me and just encouraged me and played gospel music. And he told me, he was like, you don't have to be anything to me right now. Don't try to be strong. Don't try to stand up for me. Don't put on a strong face. Allow God to be God in your life right now. I'm just here to intercede over my little brother. And that meant a lot to me because, again, I'm the person who I want everybody to be good. When the family comes in, I want to be able to, oh yeah, I'm good. I'm all right. God is good. My pastor came down and First Lady, they came down as well. We prayed the first night I had a stroke. And then a couple other people came down as well to check in on me. But for the most part, God just really showed me that he was on my side the entire time.
Wow. Awesome. So here's blessings.
Let's get it. Love. Look, shout out to them people who go hard to make a difference.
I see.
Never compromise your great, rise up and get it. I done met the glory now. All I do is win it, man. Boy, I'm out here dripping. I be dripping, see no competition. This that guy been good, he never failed me soundtrack. Might have took some L's in life, but then you bounce back. You done made it through the struggle, they can't tell you nothing. Brighter days are soon to come, and now you gotta love it. Everything you been through got you to this moment. In the winner circle, waving in slow motion. Went from wonder how we making out to every move is major, guaranteed you get it all.
I ain't worried about nobody trying to stop my shine. Coming back for everything these haters stole is mine. In the field,
with some fire emojis in the comments.
They ask me how I'm doing, I say I'm just fine. Homie, I'm blessed, I'm blessed, I'm blessed, I'm blessed, I'm
Run and tell.
I'm blessed, I'm blessed, I'm blessed,
Look, shout out to them ladies working hard to make it happen.
I see.
Fellas working at that dream cause you can have it. Bills be adding up, never giving to the matters. Make it happen, keep the passion, call up Brinks to bring the bag. And look, man, nothing lasts forever, nothing lasts forever. Even those who say they ride and change up under pressure. Gotta be careful, those connected may want you to settle. Can't carry everybody with you to that next level. This that every day we winning, how they like me now. All my kings and queens who riding, please adjust the crown. They can't stop me now, I'm winning with the squad. All glory to God, you know we make it this far.
Nobody trying to stop my shine. Coming back for everything these haters stole is mine. In the field, in the trenches, working overtime. They ask me how I'm doing, I say I'm just fine. Homie, I'm blessed,
I say now run and tell.
Blessed,
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 Now run and tell.
Blessed, I'm blessed,
Yeah. Every day you wake, consider that a blessing. You've been destined to be legendary since your adolescence. Go against the grain, make a lane, maximize your effort, and they don't get the picture. Let them go, and God bless you. God bless you. This they give me room and watch me work at theme music. Found my beauty through the ashes, classic king music. All things are possible. We watching how a king do it. You made it through your darkest hour, now your dream moving. I know they thought you never make it, but you did. did it. Your description, definition of the realest. Beast mode, never catch you in your feelings. It's still in God we trust, and all them haters better
I ain't
feel
worried
it.
about nobody trying to stop my shine.
Let's go.
Coming back for everything these haters stole, it's mine.
Let's go.
In the field, in the trenches, working overtime. They ask me how I'm doing, I say I'm just fine. Homie, I'm blessed, yeah.
Say the run and tell.
I'm blessed, yeah.
The run and tell.
I'm blessed, yeah. I'm blessed, yeah. I'm blessed,
I say
yeah.
go run and tell.
I'm blessed, yeah.
The run and tell.
I'm blessed, yeah. I'm blessed, yeah. Blessed,
Bless.
yeah.
All right, that was Blessings by Gil Gatsby. Man, that was a blessing. Wow, man. Wow.
Yeah.
You know, I just kind of want to go back to that miracle, man. A lot of people, a lot of times they're wondering, man, I hear what you're saying about God.
Yes.
I hear you're saying that God worked in this special way in my life.
Yes.
How can somebody who may not have had this dramatic experience,
Yes.
how can they know that God is working in their life in a special way right now?
Right now, you just have to look at everything that you've gone through. Life may not be where you want it to be right now, but in everything that you've gone through, you have to understand that God never leaves nor forsakes us. So if you're dealing with something right now, find someone that you can connect to, somebody in the faith that will encourage you, that will keep you uplifted, that will keep you accountable, because you have to know that you are important to the body of Christ. You have a testimony, you have a story to tell, and it is important that you do not let somebody silence you, put you down, contradict with what they say to you, tell you that God isn't real, because you know that there were times that you could have been dead, there were times that you could have overdosed, there were times that you could have been drunk out of your mind and drove into a tree on your way home because of depression, because you had suicidal thoughts. However, you are still here, and you are still here for a reason. So I encourage you today, if you need anything, you can inbox me and I'll pray with you or connect you with someone who can pray based on where you are right now, because it is important that you know that you are here for purpose, to bring others to the body of Christ.
Amen, amen. Also, if you guys have any questions, we'll be checking Facebook periodically, YouTube periodically.
Yeah.
We have one more song for you guys, and I have a couple more questions.
All right.
And then we'll start to wrap this up.
Let's get it.
But yeah, if you guys have any questions for Gil Gatsby, drop them in the comment section. If you are liking and appreciating his music, let him know. So Gil Gatsby, where does that come from? Is that your name?
Oh, no, it's not. Real name, Pat White. That's my real name, Pat White. Gil was at one point Gilligan. And there was a movie, if those who are, baby boomers or don't know, or they're young or whatever the case may be. Gilligan was a show where it was him and I think 6 other people who got stranded on an island. And there was a movie that was made for TV where they went, they actually were able to get off the island and they went back to where they were before being stranded in civilization. And when they got there, everybody noticed that they didn't fit in no more. The clothes had changed, the way they dressed had changed, cars had changed, money had changed. Everything had changed. So at the end of the movie, they went and purposely got stranded on an island because they didn't fit in no more. So that's where Gilligan comes from for me. I tried to do it the world's way, tried to dibble and dabble in it. It wasn't for me. I didn't fit in. I don't talk like the world. I don't look like them. I don't dress like them. I don't, appeal to them in my message and delivery. So I'd rather be stranded doing the will of God than to try and fit in to civilization. It turned into Gil because when I went to Sway, he couldn't say Gilligan.
Why?
He was so excited from the freestyle. He was like, Gil Gatsby, ladies and gentlemen. Gil Gatsby, ladies and gentlemen. And so people started looking for me online. So I said, all right, I'm going to shorten my name because 200,000 people, streamed in and saw me, or millions of people. Yeah. And now they don't know how to get to me. So they're like, hey, Sway, where's this cat Gil at? And so I had to change my name up.
And did I miss the Gatsby part?
The Gatsby just came from freestyling one day, and I said, they calling me great. Where do you think they got Gatsby from? And the way I put it together at that time, people went crazy, and I was like, I'm going to be a rapper with a first and a last name. And then people actually do think that's my real name. So, yeah.
Wow, man. So, obviously we're in some strange and perilous times right now.
Absolutely.
And, so what would you say to the believer that maybe is kind of worried?
Yeah.
They they're concerned. You know, a lot of people lost jobs.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the least of our problems in
Right.
this world, really.
Yes.
But people are concerned these days. What would you tell the believer, and then what would you tell the person that maybe is not a believer, and maybe they're concerned?
So I would say for the believer, cast your cares on God because he cares for you. Any anxiety that you're dealing with, give it to God during these times. We know that God will provide, and in the natural, it's honest for us to sometimes be frustrated, to be scared, to be fearful. But in those things, that's when God's strength can be perfected in you because you go to God and you let him know, God, I don't know where the next meal is going to come from. This was my career. What are you trying to say to me? Those are the moments where you just sit down, be quiet, and allow God to be God. And I want to say something else along that line as well. But for the unbeliever, I would tell them the same thing. That in these times, in these times, you may not believe, or you may say, where's your God now? God doesn't make any mistakes. God is the same God yesterday, today, and forevermore, and he's getting our attention right now. He's getting the church's attention. He's getting the world's attention. And it is important that we get to know the true living God for ourselves because there is going to come a time where that's all we're going to be able to lean on and call on. So in this time right now, it is important that we all, believer or unbeliever, get to know God for ourselves, get a relationship with God for ourselves, get to know your Father the correct way, because then you'll be able to understand these times that we're in. But if you look to everything on CNN or Fox News or what this person says, that person says, you'll never get the truth if you never go to God.
That's right, man. As we wrap this show up,
yes,
I just got to tell you guys, man, that it really blessed me to just kind of how you shared your testimony about how God healed you.
Yes.
But I know some people also that know somebody that was healthy.
Yes.
Was absolutely like a fitness dog,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody. I think they were physical trainers also, and it didn't matter what they did, they still died.
Correct.
And
it happens.
And so what that tells me is that, it's important to, and I'm not making excuses. I know I'm a little fluffy, okay? So you guys don't gotta. He's just saying that.
No, I got you.
but the reality is this: is that no man knows, no man is promised his next breath.
Yes.
And right now, if you're thinking, man, I gotta stop playing games with God. I gotta stop running from God, or
yes.
I gotta stop throwing away these moments that He's given me. The Bible says that today is the day of salvation.
Amen.
Right now, you can give your life to Him. You can. It doesn't have to be this ceremonious thing.
Yep.
You just right now in your heart, just cry out to God. The Bible says that He will hear those who call on the name of the Lord. And so you call on the name of Jesus and He'll come. He'll come, man. And if you are somebody who maybe is compromised and taken 1,000 steps away from God, I want you to be encouraged also, and I want you to know that it doesn't matter if you've taken 1,000 steps from God. It only takes one step to come back to Him, and He'll receive you into His arms. Right now.
Yeah.
And so right now I'm gonna have Gil Gatsby close us out. Do you want to explain this one?
Man, let me explain it too. Let me give a shout out to Tia Noel. That's my boo bop, my sweets, tuned in right now. She's doing music and just dropped her first single called Worship. It's available on iTunes, and I'm so proud of her. I can kind of take a step back and just focus on other things and let her be the artist, a beautiful vocalist, and she's holding it down. This last song I'm going to hit you with is called Bar Bully. This is for everybody who said I wasn't going to make it, who said the hip-hop for the gospel was going to be corny, it was going to be soft. I'm the difference. We gonna hold it down for the kingdom all day long. Yeah. If you don't believe it, come get some.
All right, right before I'm gonna play this right now. Yeah. Why don't you tell the people where they can find your music, where they can find all your stuff?
Okay, absolutely. I'm at everything at Gil Gatsby, Gatsby, at Gil Gatsby. Available iTunes, Apple, Tidal, Spotify, YouTube. You can check the videos and freestyles and everything that's going on. Other exclusive interviews. Shout out to the show New West, Clone Presents New West. You can get the latest and greatest from artists from the California area, and I'm on that show as well. So you can find me everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everywhere at Gil Gatsby, GilGatsby. Perfect.
All right, here we go.
Yeah. Shout out to Run and Tell. This is the podcast of the year. Let's go. Woo. Yeah. Gil Gat. Side White Treats, what up? Yeah. Let's go. Look, hey. I'm a survivor and a rhymer trying to reach my brother. Not a biter, but a writer, 6 speeches covered. Going higher, I aspire just to reach the other. A uniter in a cipher, then I preach my father. Write my own 16s, I never had co-author. Always be a gentleman, that's what I promised my mama. Sleepy eye, kinda slim, set to look like my papa. Been with Christ thus far, give up now, why bother? So I praise first and ask questions last. That's how most of these so-called saints pass. No, I laugh when they said this would not blast. When these rappers wouldn't blow if they perfected the Mars class. I think they dreaming when they screaming that they wanting war. I'm dropping stars, clumsy ninja with a nettle star. Settle scores, all that talking raw I can't ignore. The weapon drawn, see the goat like a Capricorn. It's the return of the bar bully. Lame you can ill 16 schemer. Rhyming so sick. It's the return of the bar bully. He's so blessed, he crossed over, hit the devil with that yoke. And all my people say, amen, 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 amen. And all my people say, amen, 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 amen. Look, hey yo, fully loaded gat, I don't play no background. Police, Prince, haters, let the key pat down. Back down, hit the way I rap now. Flow, put you in the body bag like a campground. Time for me to give them the real. The haters leave me alone like inherited mortgage in the will. That might have it, that might savage, that crush handed. Keep the hood lifted like a bootleg mechanic is Gil. Word to Caesar, go ape on that black ink. Came in to kill Mugger and challenge these rap kings. Better believe I'm equipped and I'm made for this. You never catch me off guard like an atheist. I'm from that city of killers. You say the wrong words, you surrounded by shells like Master Splinter. Trying to play it cool like Eskimo tennis. Then I blow up the spot like amateur chemist. So this is what we not gonna do. Act like God is not the truth. Been through hell and back, and that's a fact, all things are possible. Came up out the hospital, ready for them obstacles. Greater lives within me, so be careful who you talking to. It's the return of the bar bully. Lame you can ill 16 schemer. Rhyming so sick. It's the return of the bar bully. He's so fresh. He crossed over, hit the devil with that yoke. And all my people say, amen, 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 amen. And all my people say, amen, 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 amen. Yeah.
All right, y'all, that's it for today. Thank you guys for tuning in to Run and Tell. Like, share, subscribe, and follow us, man. We got some great stuff happening. We hope you come back again. Gil
Anytime
Gatsby.
you need me.
All right.